answer for everything.
It's kill or be killed. Nobody's safe. Oh my God.
Welcome back to the 12th annual Halloween special. I hope you guys are having a great time with this. I love this month of the year. It's the best time. It's so much fun to talk about these movies. Tonight we're talking about Final Destination 5. This is a franchise that I have absolutely not reviewed chronologically. I reviewed the first one, and then the third, and now the fifth. I guess I've only done the odd numbered. I'll try to do 2 next year. So while on a business retreat, Sam has a premonition that he, his co-workers, his boss, and several other people will die in a horrific bridge collapse. When his premonition ends, he tries to make everyone get off the bus. Only some of his co-workers, along with his boss, leave. Shortly after, the bridge collapses. Everyone thinks they're safe until the survivors start dying. It's now up to Sam to try to find a way to prevent anyone else from dying before it's too late. I'm a big fan of the Final Destination franchise. Alongside Scream, this is one of the more reliable ones. I'm not a huge fan of The Final Destination though, which brings me to something I actually really like about this movie in particular, and that's the commitment to just call it Final Destination 5. Just own up to that shit. Don't do any of that the whatever thing, or certainly don't call it Final Destination, so there's 2 movies called the same thing in your franchise. When I saw this movie initially back in 2011, I had the last one on my mind, so I went in with pretty low expectations. The movie could do nothing but surprise me, but in every way, it exceeded my expectations as a fan of these movies. This actually is my second favorite film in the franchise. I think Final Destination 5 is quite good and pretty underrated. By far, it has my favorite opening title sequence. The score by Brian Tyler is really catchy, and all these devices breaking through glass looks amazing, and in 3D it was pretty awesome. The premonition sequence in the first film is very effective. It was the first time you ever saw it, but I think they got better after that. 2 is essentially iconic. Anyone who saw that movie when they were young is now officially terrified of trucks carrying logs. And I love the roller coaster sequence in 3. But I think the premonition scene in 5 is my favorite of the franchise. This bridge collapse is really, really good. It looks spectacular. And this movie's 13 years old now. And the deaths, which I can't show you due to YouTube's policies about such things, they are so gory and so bloody. There's a fall where you see the impact, but it's not just that you see the impact, which is rare in a movie when somebody falls, you usually cut away. It's the fact that one of the bodies just kind of bounces off of the cement. It's really great. Like, it's bloody as hell and very, very well done. I think it's also the longest premonition sequence of all the films. When it comes to the Final Destination movies, I could say the same thing for all of them, and that is that they follow a formula. This franchise has a very specific formula. A person has to get a premonition. Where the premonition comes from, we don't know. Why it helps them, we don't know. But they save everybody, and then people start dying. Sooner rather than later, they'll figure out that people are dying in the order they were supposed to die in the premonition, usually because Tony Todd helps them out. Those are the rules of the Final Destination movies, and most of them follow that structure to a T. It's just how good are the deaths, and is there anything else you can throw at me along the way? 5 also introduced this element where you could kill someone instead of dying, but get their years, get their time left. I want to talk about the gymnastics scene. This is masterful suspense building, seriously. This nail that falls down and lands right where these girls are stepping. I watched this with my friend last night, and we were both just absolutely squirming. It's worse than what Harry experiences in Home Alone. It's just, you're staring at that nail, and it's not just that like the girls are stepping around it. They are backflipping, and their hands and feet are both at risk. But like most films in this series, they do a really good job of setting up something and making you think that's going to be the problem, but it comes from elsewhere, and it surprises you. This gymnastics moment, again, can't show it to you. There are things in movies that make me not want to do things or not even watch things. Like when everyone was watching the Olympics recently, every time I hear about the Olympics, I just kind of think about this scene, and I'm terrified of seeing some girl fold in on themselves like a pretzel. There's a pretty terrible character in this movie, and I don't necessarily mean on the page, I just mean he's an awful person. He spends most of the movie harassing women as well as the employees of a massage parlor. So his death is something you can have a lot of fun with because you kind of hate him, and they do not hold back on this guy. Acupuncture needles, fire, all kinds of wonderful things take this guy out, and it's beautiful. Let's talk about the laser eye surgery scene. This was heavily featured in all the promotion. I think this was the one that people were most afraid to watch, myself included. And when I actually got laser eye surgery a few years ago, I was just desperately trying to not think about this scene. I mean, it was on my mind though, man, and it was not easy. I gotta say, when they clamp your eyelids open, that is a horrifying feeling. There's stuff that they do in real life that is not in this movie that would be, I think, maybe too much to watch. I don't know if they didn't do it in 2011 when it came out, but there's like this whole suction cup thing with the eye. It's awful, and I don't even want to get into it, but like, while that was happening, I was just thinking about this fucking scene, which is super effective. As I said, I watched it with my buddy last night, and he actually took his blanket, because we were on my couch, he took a blanket and just put it over his head. He was like, I can't look at this. So it's at this point in the review that I have to give you a spoiler warning. If you have never seen Final Destination 5, I cannot talk about this movie without discussing the ending, because it is one of my favorite horror movie endings ever. So if you haven't seen the movie, go check it out. It's a great Halloween watch. It's super bloody and very satisfying. For everyone else, let's keep talking about it. It's really tough to pull off anything that's actually surprising anymore, especially when the movie itself doesn't need to have the surprise to still work. Because Final Destination 5 is a very effective horror movie. It's better than 4. It's better than 3. You could debate about 2, but like, I personally think it's a really damn good sequel, and still, that is before the ending. This ending completely pulled the rug out for me when I saw it. The ending of the movie reveals that it actually takes place in the year 2000, and it is a prequel to the first Final Destination, as the surviving characters get on the plane that Devon Sawa saw blow up in a premonition in the first movie. The plane blows up, and the one other survivor who killed somebody to get their time finds out that the person who died had this illness that was going to take him out any day now. And the wheel of that plane falls through the roof of the bar he's in and kills him. Not only is this a really fun reveal, but when you watch the movie back and you realize how much was hidden in plain sight that you weren't thinking about. Every car that's in the film had to be period accurate. References to famous people had to be period accurate. Even the reference to the famous Sixth Sense line, I see dead people, was kind of viewed as a tired joke on first viewing, and then you go back and you're like, okay, so that movie's brand new for these characters. But there's also a lot of really smart things they did to sort of make you not notice the fact that technology wasn't up to date in the film, and that's that there's a lot of office scenes. There's not as many scenes in people's houses, but in those offices, there's older computers and older phones. And for whatever reason, subconsciously on first viewing, I remember accepting that because a lot of offices do have older tech. If those scenes were at somebody's house and they had those phones and those computers, I would have been like, bro, update your shit. But the fact that it's at an office, I remember that I didn't flag that. What's also smart about this is that there rarely is a close-up of someone's cell phone. I think there's maybe like one. But for the most part, people are on flip phones. And flip phones were still kind of a thing in this time. Like, you accepted that some people might have flip phones, and they're almost always at a distance, and people kind of have their hands all over the phone, like you can't quite see it. They flip the phone shut, they put it down, and you're not really thinking about it. It's one of my favorite in plain sight twists that I've ever experienced in a movie. In Final Destination 5. How crazy is that? I'm actually amazed it's been as long as it has been since another Final Destination film. We've got a new one coming out next year, though. It's in post right now. I'm so excited for that. Guys, thank you so much for continuing to watch the 12th annual Halloween special. I hope you guys check out this film if you've never seen it. It's really, really good. It's just a lot of fun. Thank you so much, as always, for watching, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.